I need those copy edits on the Christopher Tolkien profile. Is this Shannara Travelogue fact check? Lose 2 pics from the gelatinous cube photo essay. Let's move, people. We go to press in 20 minutes.
Sir?
I don't care which 2 pics, whichever one makes the cube look least gelatinous.
Sir?
What? I am extremely busy.
Yes, I know. Well, I've just got some bad news, sir. You know the latest installment of the Gahad the Alligator serial?
Of course. It's our most popular feature here at the Ozark Sci-Fi Association Journal.
Yeah, well, the author has decided to... Well, he's accepted a better offer. He sold the rights to the Tuscaloosa Fantasy Review.
Our most bitter rival. Damn him! We've already got a cover all drawn up with Gahod the Alligator on it.
Well, could we just draw a new cover illustration, sir?
That illustration cost $12,000.
Well, sir, we now have a hole in pages 27 through 49 of the issue.
Well, can we fill it with erotic illustrations of Gurgi from the Black Cauldron?
I'm afraid that we only have about 18 pages worth of sexy Gurgi illustrations, sir.
Damn it! This is going to ruin us!
Well, hear me out. There is one thing we could try.
I'm all ears.
This story arrived in the mail today. It's a first-time author, a teenager, actually, and it just happens to be 22 pages long.
What's it about?
I'm not sure, but it did win the J.T. Rikosh Award for Excellence.
Great! Slug it in!
Well, should I proofread it in the slightest, sir?
What? There's no time!
Yes, sir. And I assume we should not run the now completely irrelevant Eek dog illustration?
That illustration cost $18,000!
Got it. Eek dog stays. Okay. You're sure this is the right move, sir?
The right move. My boy, you may just have saved the Ozark Sci-Fi Association Journal!
You really think so?
Of course! I mean, sure, it could turn out that we just published the literal worst story ever written, but what are the odds?
Oh, welcome everyone. This is 372 pages. We'll never get back. I am Michael J. Nelson, and as always, you are...
Connor Listoka. I was just listening to that music, and I was like, oh, you know what would make my day is if at some point in time a bride walked down the aisle to that music.
Yeah.
At her wedding. That would just, the tear falls from her father's eyes. He hugs her and shakes the hand of the husband-to-be as they sort of arpeggios crescendo at the end there.
I'm picturing you as the grandfather, cane in hand, wiping tears from your eyes with a linen handkerchief as your granddaughter does this. I think that's what you're imagining, right?
Yeah. It would. If no one does it in the next year or so, that'll have to be the long con.
Hey, this is the podcast where we read books that we will probably dislike. Although in the case of the one, as you just heard, Connor, that was an interesting piece of history about how that came to be in the, what is it, the Ozarks?
The Ozark Sci-Fi Association Journal. I guess they were just in the habit of, it was the time of Watergate, so the editor, I guess, was keeping meticulous recordings for the historical purposes of maintaining the journal's records, and you got to sort of see how the sausage was made there. Fascinating.
Yeah, and interesting that we were able to get a hold of that. We have clout. We are able to get things that no one else can come up with.
Yeah, we do. We have these unique things, and we use them for the best possible ways. We're not we're not trying to unearth the lost classics, that lost Harper Lee classic that probably earned her family $20 million. We're not diving into that.
Right. We won't. If in fact it's been offered to us many times, like a lost Mozart symphony, and we're like, I don't know. It's not really our people. It's not our crowd.
How about a recording of a anonymous editor and his young scribe who's trying to save their sci-fi journal? But yeah, I'm nostalgic. I already miss the Eye of Argon, even though I had never read it before 2 weeks ago. But it was like I remember in high school one time I traded my Super Nintendo for a regular Nintendo and like 40 different games, and the experience of playing those games in like the summer between 9th and 10th grade, there was this profound nostalgia. Even though I had these games like 4 years ago, it was just
Yep.
it was reminding me of my earlier childhood in that still moment of my childhood.
Yep.
But that's how I feel about Eye of Argon. It's yesteryear, but I already miss it.
Well, you click those ruby slippers together, and you can always go back to Eye of Argon. It was in your heart all along.
Right.
And it is a book that when my wife, I would read her sentences from Eye of Argon, she would laugh and appreciate them. When I would read her sentences from Ready Player One, she would go, "Get away from me! Why are you bothering me? I was having a nice evening." So yeah,
Right.
It is quite a difference.
Right. It's more. It was tinged with optimism and hope. I feel like, whereas the other ones, you could just immediately imagine the guy like eating Cheetos and sweating at his keyboard type of thing. So, I think that's the main difference. But
speaking of nostalgia and hope and looking to the future and of Mozart and Harper Lee, I mean, this is about on that level. I think when we are announcing our next project, and I couldn't be more excited. How about you?
Oh, I'm very excited. It's a long process of trying to figure out what would work here because the whole hook is that we don't know what these books are going to be like. So you sort of go in and hoping it's going to pay off. And when you suggested this one, I was like, well, that's, not something I had considered, but it seemed like a no-brainer to me. I'm very excited. And I guess I kind of, let's tease it out a little bit longer, but how did you decide that this was something you thought would work well? Because it obviously is going to be something that's going to work.
Yeah, it has been in my consciousness for many years. The author is probably one of the most famous people in America. I mean, he's on a fairly short list of pretty famous people.
That's like there's a line in the Royal Tenenbaums where he's like, as soon as Royal said it, he realized it was true. And that was something that you just said. I'm like, is that? Yep, that's definitely true. What I just said. Oh my God.
Yeah, and this is a man who wrote this, and he's got a regular name, but he is often known by simply one name, kind of in the Cher, the Sting, the King of Pop, Michael Jackson. I guess, did he have a single name? Or
no one ever. I'm going to see Jackson tonight. What?
All right,
let's have this guy committed. Like
my analogy went off the rails.
Oh my God!
But you get the point.
That would be a true mark of a psychotic person.
But he's so famous that you can call him by his last name. And I came to know this novel when I was at Mystery Science Theater, and I think it was in the writing room, maybe a copy of it, an old tattered copy. And I don't know if it came out at that point or had been out for a couple of years, but it came to our attention. And so Mystery Science is peppered with jokes about this book. Yes.
So you just kept it around, and people would just you'd be sitting around trying to think for inspiration, and someone would just pick it up.
Yep, crack open.
Flip to a random page and entertain people.
Yes, and I believe that it was a short-lived series as well around that same time. So maybe that's why it came to our attention.
Yeah, I don't remember the timeline of it, and I haven't done a ton of research into it now, but I remember this being a book that was always around at the school library, and it was always in those Scholastic Book Fair supplements they would hand out, where for whatever reason this is some little scam they run where they send you home with these things, and you go home and you're like, Mom, I need books. Reading, you want me to read, right? And then you buy the Calvin and Hobbes books and Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. But this was always sort of on those lists, and I never read it. I never knew anyone who read it, but they were really shoving it down your throats.
They were trying to get kids to read this book.
Yeah, I mean, who knows if that's if this is true? But I was aware of it, and the author was not someone I grew up knowing or liking or having anything I wanted to do with, but somehow this still penetrated my sphere.
Well, we can delay it no longer, although we probably could delay it a little longer. It is part of a series. I think the series, to the best of my knowledge, it could still be going on. I don't really know.
Right. It could be, just one of those things that also is bigger in another country, or they have, it might be like an original series that's currently airing on like, some weird tier of Hulu.
Yeah. All right. No more delays.
People are like gripping their MP3 player in disgust. Like, will you just please?
We've never been good at the cliffhangers, but we're really dragging it out here. This book is by the great William Shatner, Canadian actor. It is Tech Wars. Tech War or Tech Wars?
Tech War, like the
Tech War, singular war.
Yeah, and 2 words, so it's a tech war. It's not TEK. There's a space in between them.
Yeah, tech war. It would be nice. I guess it was before the time where that would have been one word with a capital W.
Right.
But anyway, yeah, I'm excited. How about you? I mean, you've already said you don't know much about it other than you avoided it.
No, I avoided it, and I've never had anyone who's sort of like cornered me at a party and like asked if I've ever read it, and then I say no, and then they still explain to you the whole plot of it, even though you've expressed no interest in it whatsoever. That's never happened.
You've never seen it on a list of when celebrities go, "What are you currently reading? What are you eating? What are you doing?" And it's never like, "Oh, I'm currently reading this fascinating book called Tech War."
Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop newsletter is really endorsing it as a way to do it. No one's ever written into the front page of Parade magazine being like, I heard that Tech War was going to be made into a movie. What's the status of that?
Right. I did see when we were investigating, I did look at the reviews, I think on Amazon, and it's not highly rated, and some of the reviews are trying to the jokey headline reviews.
Oh boy.
But they were pretty good. I don't have them in front of me, but anyway, that was one of the reasons. Like, okay, so people are receiving this in the same way that I did when it came out, that I thought it was a joke. And at the time, the authorship was much joked about. And why don't you explain that?
Well, yeah, so it's William Shatner's Tech War, and I guess it was always, for a while it was by William Shatner. But it turns out that it's, of course, ghostwritten. And now the identity of that ghostwriter is known. And I guess William Shatner maybe revealed that in one of his autobiographies, which was also ghostwritten. But the guy's name is Ron Goulart. And he's sort of...
So wait, technically some other ghostwriter revealed the other ghostwriter.
Right, that's true.
But he was Shatner just, signed off on it.
Yeah, he was just like leaning in the door of the bathroom as Shatner was showering and just sort of rambling on, and he dropped the name of this ghostwriter, and this guy put it in the autobiography. But yeah, he's sort of like, seems like he's a lifer ghostwriter. He wrote like pulp novels. He wrote books about the comic strip character, the Phantom, like that sort of thing. He wrote a series of detective novels that star Groucho Marx.
Yeah, I saw that in the Wikipedia. How does that work?
How does it work, and why aren't we just doing that?
Yeah, should we move to that next?
But yeah, so he seems like one of these guys who has, made a career out of writing, but none of the books he's written on Wikipedia have their own Wikipedia pages. So he hasn't written anything that's really, really caught on. But I guess he's probably earned a decent chunk of change doing this.
You say he didn't write anything that made him a huge chunk of money. How about that? The newspaper parody that he did.
Yes, he evidently got his start writing as a newspaper called the Czechs Press, which, if you're wondering what that is, that was a newspaper, according to Wikipedia, a newspaper parody published on Ralston Purina cereal boxes.
Wow. And I don't know if did he also sing in a band that when those records that they stuck to the back of the box? Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah, the flexible records?
Yeah, you could cut them out. He also probably played in the Czechs Beatles band or something.
Right. Well, it's an ironic thing because the Czechs is sort of famous for in the 90s, they gave you a CD-ROM in their boxes that had Chex Quest, which was like a Chex-based version of Doom.
No way. What?
Yeah. And
why aren't we playing that right now?
That's a good question too, but that's sort of a weirdly beloved of if you're a certain age, Chex Quest. But there's probably came out around the same time. Tech War had a CD-ROM game that was evidently a very bad Doom clone as well. So maybe we can play through that at some point in time. The next time we're together, play through that for people. So everything comes full circle. I'd like to think that Shatner might have been just sitting morosely, sort of reading the back of a box of Chex one morning and found a really good parody article that was like. Miracle cereal stays dry in milk. And he was like, this is the guy I want to write my Tech War book.
He screamed at his third assistant. The other two had already scurried out of the house for other things. Damn it, get me this guy.
He evidently wrote an outline, and that sort of is what shaped into there. And I remembered, like, very, very early on, I think it was the third riff track we ever did, was Star Trek V, which is the one, he directed. And I think, early on, there's a credit that's like, story by William Shatner. And the line was just like, yeah, story in the sense that he said, we should make a new Star Trek movie and I want to direct it.
Right.
Which is like, got to be just the sense of this. Like, how can I make some money? Oh, here's a loose outline for some books. Like, make them happen and I'll put my name on it.
To make it relevant for the young people out there, this is a little bit like, remember those Jackie Gleason albums from the 50s? Apparently had his name on it, like they were branded, Jackie Gleason party music. And he claimed to have written them all, which is, everyone knew was patently false. It's just such a weird idea. Like, put my name on something that everyone knows I'm not doing.
Yeah, wow. But yeah, I guess it's, it's its own little cottage industry because Goulart's been doing it for a very long time. And so he has a Wikipedia page. Like I said, none of his books are famous enough to warrant their own page, but he has his own page. And it's I think it's one of those wiki pages that sort of is just being maintained by like maybe one or two people that sort of hate each other and they're fixing each other's edits all the time. And one of them might be Ron Goulart. Right. But there are some gems on the wiki page. This was the very early on and was one of my favorites. It says Goulart's fiction is characterized by several themes, including humor, technology gone wrong (parentheses) usually through incompetence rather than malice. Okay, but then there's one more theme, and so see if you can think of a better way to rephrase this. Heroes with superhuman powers.
That's like. You kill in Ready Player One. You killed my
yes.
my mom's sister. I can't think of another term for that.
Maybe powerful heroes who are human but super. I don't know. No,
there's no way to solve this. Just leave it as is. Stat. I just write stat in there and just leave it as it is.
And he has also written novelizations for television programs such as Laverne and Shirley. So that's probably something that you find at a beach house. And just like, what? Like, well, I guess I have to read this. It's the only book in the house. And then you just like make it through 10 pages because every time you pick it up, you're so depressed. And then he's also written several romance novels under feminine pseudonyms, parentheses. They contain familiar Goulart themes and are hilarious. So that's that patented Wikipedia objectivity we've all come to know and love. And so definitely edited by him.
So if I am to go to a garage sale and there's a guy leaning back in a lawn chair, and he's drinking a soda, and he's barely paying attention to me as I pick up a box filled with paperbacks, and it says 10 cents, and I say 5, and he's like, whatever, and he just holds out his hand. It will probably be half Goulart, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The odds are very much. It's like how many, when that old math puzzle, like you have this many socks. How many socks do you need to pull out to make sure you have a match? Like the answer will be like, you can maybe get 3 books out of there before you get a Ron Goulart.
Nice.
And he's still alive. He's 85 years old. And, he could be writing, he could be publishing the new, like Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, or he could be taking over the reins of, Sabrina the Teenage Witch novelizations for all we know.
Well, 85. Shatner, Shatner's got to be 85, 86, somewhere around there. Man. Yeah, I assume they're hanging out, right?
Yeah, I guess it could be one of those things where they strike up a friendship, or do the that movie where the guy interviewed David Foster Wallace and they ended up becoming friends type of thing. So who knows?
Goulart, Goulart, a novelization of my commercials for Priceline. I'm on. I've already got them. The manuscript is already typed up.
Right. Good. All right. There's your 1/100th of the paycheck, and you can get a nice goose at Christmas. But yeah, so I think it's funny that ghostwriting happened, but it's also hilarious to imagine, since William Shatner is such a big personality and one of the Mount Rushmore of cheap comedian impressions, that it's going to be really funny to imagine all this stuff being written in that voice as well.
Right. Yeah. I think, as I've told you, he's like, what are the voices that are still alive, people who everyone does an impression of? I guess Walken Maybe Patrick Stewart, maybe. He's not as big, but people do impressions of
Bill
him.
Cosby was pretty big for a while, and probably hasn't gone away just yet, but is not.
But Shatner,
beloved people.
Yeah, but we'll be pulling out our Shatner impression, which I'm sure he'll love because I've heard him saying about Kevin Pollak or whatever, like, I don't sound like that. I don't understand. Like Norm Macdonald's thing of
right.
People coming up to him. I do an impression of you, crank horse.
Exactly.
And she loads it. So looking forward to maybe getting in his face, and maybe by the end of it, we'll have a Ron Goulart impression as well.
Yeah, that would be nice. Yeah, I feel like Ron Goulart might be a bit of a character. We might have to get him on the line.
Yeah. Well, we have a lot of access, as we've already explained to you. So Goulart may be on the actual pod.
It could happen. But yeah, so we are waiting on these books to arrive in the mail. The Tech War seems like one of those books that you. Like you said, it's 5 cents on Amazon, but if you want to buy it new, it's like a $30 book. So we've got used copies coming. We will post what the assignment is going to be like, because this is an actual 70,000 word book. So we're going to do this into many, many episodes. But we'll let you know on Twitter and Facebook what you should be reading to as soon as we know what we're going to be reading to.
And I really hope that it's one of those paperbacks where people have underlined sentences and written marginalia that make you go, why did you underline? Right. I love getting books like that, and somebody wrote their name in the front of it, and then they're underlining things that puzzle you as you go by them. Like,
yes,
you stopped for this? What is this?
That's only. I would only think it would be better if it was a gifted copy with a heartfelt inscription in it of Tech War, like, happy anniversary, honey, type of thing. That would make me happy. But yeah, so my strategy, I will not lie, was go on Amazon, used the cheapest one.
Well, of course.
Order. So that might be why they have not arrived yet. They might be coming from China.
There's a Peter DeVries book. He's an author from the 80s. Well, he wrote for years, but he wrote a book about an author who. But all of his books were returned to the bookstores. So the book is about him tracking down the people who returned them to get them to explain why they. Oh my! It's a comic novel about this pathetic dude, but and it's very funny. But that's what I picture Goulart. If he hears about us doing a thing about it, he'll drive to the studio where we're recording and ask us what. I hope.
Oh yeah. That would make me delighted. Who knows? I mean, it's an interesting career, no doubt. Like, because it's probably something that he was bound to not discuss.
And Shatner just let it out of the bag. Apparently, I mean, I think those NDAs are tightly drawn so that you are not to speak of having ever written a book for any famous person. At least in my experience, I know people who've done it, and yeah, you can't whisper a word. It's like Omerta, man. It's the mafia.
Well, yeah, I think it'll be a great choice, and I think if anyone who's listening has initial impressions about Tech War they want to share, please do share them with us, because I'm sure that a lot of people out there probably have read it and probably regret that. And maybe there's there's people who have read the whole series and can share some stuff that happens later on in the series. But that would be great. If you have any thoughts, please let us know.
And please, if we're doing the wrong Tech Wars, like if Tech War 6 or Tech War 33, the spin-off series is much better, please let Connor know and send everything to Connor.
Right. But yeah, well, there's a movie, so we'll hopefully get to cover that if this goes well. And I think we've said all we can about Tech War. So thanks for supporting us on Patreon, everybody. 372 pages, patreon.com/372 pages. It makes this all possible, and you get to hear announcements like this one earlier than everyone else and run out and get those cheap Amazon copies before everyone else does. So thanks again to those people.
Yeah, that book is going to get the 372 pages bounce, and so it's, it might supply and demand, people.
It might be added to the now when you go to, I think, Eye of Argon's page, it says customers who bought this book also bought Armada. So that's there is a measurable effect happening. I want that to show up on Armada's page to really bring it down to that level.
Right, and the assignment, since we don't have the books, we'll be following. Correct?
Yes. We'll make it hard to miss.
Yeah. All right. Well, so thanks again, all the Patreon, all the people who listen. This is a lot of fun. We're excited to dive into the works of Goulart Shatner. How do we? I don't know.
Yeah, I think a Goulart Shatner joint, a Golden Globus style.
Right. All right, we'll see you soon with Tech Wars here on 372 Pages We'll Never Get Back.